It's one of those grey, rainy days here in my 17th century English cottage by the sea, when everything feels slower and a little quieter. I thought it would be the perfect day to do some gentle embroidery and bake a batch of scones for a simple cream tea. So if you enjoy slow stitching and a gentle, rainy day spent in a 400-year-old cottage, you're very welcome to spend this one with me. Rainy days seem to make this old cottage feel even smaller and cozier. The deep stone walls hold the warmth, the light turns soft, and the sound of the rain settles into a steady rhythm. Today, from a distance, the sea is just a grey blur meeting the sky through the drizzle. Though close to, the waves roll in. This cottage has been standing here for centuries, and on days like this, I really feel its age. The uneven floors, the deep windowsills, the sense that many quiet days have passed through these rooms before. I'm going to move into my little kitchen, pull out some fabrics and settle in at the kitchen table with my stitching while the rain carries on outside. I'm working on this Peter Rabbit embroidery as a journal cover, inspired by Beatrix Potter's illustrations that I've loved since childhood. There's something very comforting about returning to these characters. They feel gentle and familiar, almost like old friends. The fabrics I'm using here are mainly thrifted scraps of velvet, pieces saved from projects long finished. I like the idea that these little remnants are being given another life, stitched together into something useful and personal. Although I call this embroidery, the feeling of it is very much slow stitching. I'm not rushing, I'm not aiming for perfection, just taking time with each stitch, letting my hands work while the rain taps softly on the windows. On days like this, embroidery becomes less about finishing something and more about the quiet act of making. It's a way of slowing down, of staying present, and of letting the afternoon unfold at its own pace. My little piece of embroidery is destined as a cover for my 2026 mini diary, and I'll be able to reuse it every year, bringing a little touch of joy to the everyday. I'm going to leave Peter Rabbit to rest for a moment and move into my kitchen preparation area to make some scones. Baking feels like a natural pause in the day, a small ritual that breaks up the stitching and brings a bit of warmth into my cottage and the wonderful smell of baking. This is a very simple old-fashioned scone recipe, one I've been making for years without any fuss. There's something especially comforting about mixing dough in a quiet kitchen while it rains outside, the sound of the bowl, the feel of the flour, and the company of my much-loved dogs. It all feels very much in keeping with a day like today, when there's nowhere else to be and no need to hurry. I didn't manage to finish the embroidery today, but days like this aren't really about ticking things off a list. They're about settling into the rhythm of the cottage and letting things take as long as they need. I love how these small projects quietly come together over time. I've also made a little cream tea, warm scones, homemade bramble jelly, clotted cream, and a pot of tea to finish finish the day. These are the sorts of simple moments that make living in an old cottage feel like something out of a storybook. A rainy day, a bit of stitching, something freshly baked, nothing grand, just slow and steady and deeply comforting. Thank you so much for spending this rainy day with me here in my cottage. If you enjoyed gentle embroidery, vintage fabrics and slow days like this, you might like to subscribe and join me again. I have a few more Beatrix Potter inspired and vintage sewing projects planned, which I'm very much looking forward to sharing. Until then, take care and I'll see you next time.